Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Talk with the Elementals. This time, it's going to be a fan favorite, which would be Sasquatch. Now, people already know the different histories of the Sasquatch. We're not going to necessarily go into that in depth. We're going to go into whatever messages they want to bring in, because the Sasquatch have so many different colorful histories. Different tribes of different origins. So we'll go into what they wish to speak about today. Down the road, we can do another Elementals episode that goes more into history, if they wish, or have it be a galactic history episode. So, I will see which one of them's here, if not most of them. They're kind of faded bit, but there's some here. So I believe Fuma and Seymour are here, and several others. I can feel them more than I can see them. They must have slid into a different density. So I will ask Fuma to come through. He's taking his time, so greetings, everyone. You know me as Fuma, and I have announced myself on many shows through this medium. I am talking with you today to tell you about some current events with our people. Things that have not only enriched us, but disturbed us. We will go with the disturbed first, then enriched. End on a happy note. To start, the reason why some of you that have asked to speak to us have not gotten to us as easily as in the past is that we've had to restrict our bandwidth as well as restrict our locations lately, because of the fact that the remainder of the Draco that usually are more inclined to hang out in pockets of the inner earth have surfaced. These are older batches, you would say, of Draco reptilia. These particular batches of Draco reptilia are a slight stage above the regular hunter-gatherer type of Draco, or bloodhound type. These are not quite Alpha Draconis, as you would know them. They are a slight stage below that. They are a little taller and a little stronger. Most of you already know this batch as being a royalty line. But I can say that these are essentially clones of each other. We have had to restrict our areas, like I said, in bandwidth and in geographical areas to protect our young from them. They have been a nuisance for a very long time, but since there are more of them, we've had to take up strategic ground lately. Anything that you are communicating with in the normal spots where we would communicate with you have been photonic holographic activity, demon activity, as you would know it to be, mischievous, darker elementals, or Draco reptilia. You may have all noticed recently that your minds seem to have run more amok than normal. False scenarios entering your head. Yes, this may ring true for some of you because of the fact that now they have resorted on the cusp of your new year to creating scenarios in your heads versus pulling off what is already there. To maybe some small degree, yes. Also, your human cabal are resorting to stronger voice-to-skull measures at the same time. The humans know not why they are doing this, well, at least a few do. You may even notice small issues become larger ones in greater capacity. They are, as you would say, fighting against the clock. You see, they time everything by a code, by a timer, by a rotation. Granted, there are astrological rotations that are true, but they are blocking and bastardizing these with false astrological reports and false alignments. You would know this as the clockmaker. What you know of as time, you know does not exist. So therefore, its timing fights against your evolution. We are what you would say is a proud people with many types, colors, and sizes. Other tribes that normally did not get to work together in the past do now, to not only protect humans that are of our soul groupings and others, but our own children. This is why people, as I've said, that look for us have not been able to find us as of late. We stay in areas that have high magnetism and high energy against the AI and photonic AI. These places can fight off this voice-to-skull easier. Anything of high magnetism, high energy, and true and real vertices can fight this off. We are not saying just rely on these areas. Knowing yourself is the best policy. When you know what you're being hit with that is not you. Now, we will answer happier questions.
Happier questions. That's kind of funny because actually I wanted to talk a little bit more about what's going on now, which actually aren't happier questions, but I think educational. Is it okay? All right. So I think it's really important for people to know. We always said this. I think we always said we knew that. Again, I just refer to them all as the darkness. It's a simple word. That they were going to be so backed up against the wall that the desperation was going to begin to really show itself. And it's been my opinion. I think Chris is starting to agree. But historically, there seemed to be some sort of consent with certain things, be it invasion of dream time or subconscious, trickery, where people gave their free will consent away. But it has been my contention, especially now, that the desperation of the darkness is to do things completely without consent. And you did bring up just a minute ago of all of the different stories that were being created now into people's heads that really weren't necessarily based on much of a threat of anything in someone's actual subconscious mind, if I heard you correctly. So I I feel we need to talk about this a little bit more, I think almost as a reassurance, because for us, for a while, we kept reflecting on ourselves. I can't even believe this stuff is going through my head. What in the hell could I be thinking that they would even latch onto this? And some of it is, from what you're saying, it's just not true. This is just pure oppression. Do you agree with what I've just said?
Yes, indeed. The information that is now being pumped into people's heads has fewer basis in reality than it did in years past. They are getting desperate, so they are looking for anything to latch onto, even their own concoctions and creations, based on other people's realities other than your own. You see, a computer, what they are linked to and what they are, still has to come up with things that it encountered in its own past to duplicate. So they are taking things that are from other people's pasts and duplicating them and brain mapping them onto your own, creating false scenarios. Now, this does not apply completely to SSP and MyLab memories, but in some cases, yes.
So I hate to interrupt, but can I try to give a couple of examples, because I think it's important, because I do actually feel there is certain subject matter that they tap into more than others. So I want to bring this up just in case people are having some of these thoughts or feelings and not know what they're coming from. So it seems to me that the areas that they are potentially pulling and putting things in your mind, and they could have pulled maybe some of it from a past life or whatever, some thread, are going to be in the areas of fighting, causing a for and against, or fighting. Again, you now being the one in your mind creating a drama of that would lead to a fighting scenario, be it fighting with family members, fighting with whatever, and none of what you would be potentially fighting over is actually within your visual view. It's going to be made up in your head that let's say, for example, I bet you they're thinking this. I bet you they're whatever. I bet you they're plotting. I bet you they're almost that kind of stuff that's going on that sometimes intuition-wise you pick up on in real life, but this is not your intuition picking up on anything. This is actually scenarios being pumped in your mind, be it with coworkers, be it with family, be it with whatever, and it is trying to promote you to fight. That's one area, and I've said this on a few shows now that I'm like, I feel pretty secure that I know actually who I am, and the things that I talk about and the things that I believe in on people are really, really what I believe. So it makes no sense that this stuff would be in my head, because I historically wouldn't be doing all that. The other thing I think has to do with, again, I'm going to go down to basic human needs, love and security. So it seems to me that they are pulling and trying to confuse people in those areas. So for example, you could be in a very loving, caring relationship, and then all of a sudden it just seems that, why is this other person coming into my head? Now, it may not even be related, if I hear you correctly, Fuma, to past life, but we tend to, throughout time in our lives, come together, and with a lot of people that we tend to come together again. So it could have been potentially someone, let's say in a past life, or something that you were really, really close to. It's like bringing back those memories, and now it's causing problems in current day, present time in your relationships that you are not actually insecure in. You actually are in a good, loving relationship, but the confusion is being brought in. And because you may have had a successful relationship with a person elsewhere, they're bringing in those energies so it feels familiar and good. So I have to try to, I'm just saying all that because this is the part where we've been telling people, you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself to know what is you and what is not you. And they're really crossing the line right now, trying to blur all that. So I really wanted to be specific, Fuma, since you brought it up. And so any additional comments, or do you want to clarify or something I said?
Yes, indeed. They will take off old, happier memories and contort them and twist them in order to gain their own agendas. These are old tactics being regurgitated in the now. They are also taking these old memories and twisting them, as I've said, but in this new energy, the new energies are fighting what needs to remain and what needs to go. Not all things are to be remembered, remember, even if they seem important at the time. All people are going through this in some fashion right now. This is why we are saying, know yourself. When you know yourself, you know when something is not you, even when something was you and was successful. It may not have a place in the here and now. So therefore, when they try to pull on it and try to lead you astray in some fashion, no, this is the AI doing this. In matters of sexuality, it is what's known as the Sophia Code. Matters of violence, it is other parts of the clockmaker, and regarding memories and, say, bodily issues such as muscle and nerve tissue, it is another place that is known as memoriam, or the memory. You would think of it as regurgitating old memories, old ways and old patterns of being. That is that part of the clockmaker's speciality. Then that will get refueled into turning it into violence and sexuality and a couple of other distinct ways of regurgitating these memories and dividing them up into things they never were, into things that they wish them to become. And only humans can make them become this, because humans are creators. Humans are unique amongst the stars, and the clockmaker knows this, and will use all of these photonic trickeries to conjure and create whatever it needs as fuel. Now, were humans tricked? Most definitely. But do humans fuel this? Most definitely. It is a two-sided coin. That will soon be missing a side. Soon, in our standards, possibly. But to you, it may seem like a slow degradation. Be patient with this process. We know there is torment abounds. We know the thoughts they are putting in your head and stealing from others. We know this because we too have experienced this during our war with them as well. We stand with you. We war with them with you. We are losing patience with them as well. But just know you have people fighting for you in the background that you do not know, and have not for many millennia. You also have allies amongst you that are not allies. You have common spirits, let's say. We'll just leave it at that for those who need to still discern. I say the term common spirits because that is a positive coding in and of itself, that they may seem friendly, but they are anything but. They are integrated into this coding. I cannot go into a description because this is an area of the coding that is unknown to both of you. But just know that this still is a dangerous portion of the code you have yet to discover. The clockmaker will eventually be deleted in time, after each of its parts have been disseminated and discerned by humanity. This may seem unfair to those that have vibrated away from the clockmaker's recognition or whims, and still get tormented by it because of that recognition. We understand this, We see our brothers and sisters suffering at the hands of this. And we are doing what we can to assist with this. We see the insanity. We see all of this. And we do feel this with you. Because the same has been done to us. But it will end.
So, two different things I want to bring up, if you don't mind commenting with each one of them. The first one being, what do you do? What do you do now? So it is my sense, and again, I guess I'm only going from my personal experience. This may or may not be helpful to others. And as I tell people, I guess I'm an emotional person, so I feel things. And so one of the things that I've utilized that has been helpful for me is that discernment through the heart space, where something of truth will pull me towards it, something of not truth will make me literally want to be ill, that pushing and ill feeling. And that's kind of how I navigate, I guess is the best way to say it, navigate through a lot of this. So for me, I use that same skill, and I keep telling everybody, I use the same thing over and over and over again. And when these thoughts are going through your head, sometimes when you do something and then you really feel bad about it, let's say you'll get a sickening feeling. And that's just because you actually did do something. And then you realize, oh, that's really not good. Meaning, really, in a sense, that's really not a good representation of me. In this instance, it's the same feeling, but instead of saying, oh, all of these horrible feelings in my head, they're not a representation of me, which is true, you need to consider that the reason you're getting that gut feeling of, oh, this feels terrible, is because you are also sensing that the whole scenario of it going and being put into your head is wrong, that you know that this whole thing is wrong. And so it's not about feeling guilty about this imaginary story being put into your head, guilty for having it. You're feeling the truth of the matter, that it's not true, that it's truly an untruth. And again, what we're trying to help you understand is, and that is actually being placed in there from elsewhere. So you have to use those discernment skills and consider that. And then you must not participate. You can say in your head, oh, that's a bunch of bullshit. But if you get in front of that person, or if you get in front of that scenario, do not participate. If you don't participate, what you're probably going to find out when your interactions with them is that really, how could anything in your head have been true when you're having this interaction this way? So I guess I wanted to help people understand how to discern their way through this. Fuma, do you have any comments on that?
Yes. All is correct. However, there is another one that has not been considered. There is a false pull towards something not for your highest good. It will seem like it is right and correct, but in fact, it will not be. It will be so strong. It will be stronger than your own identity, or it will feel as if it is stronger than your own identity. This is why knowing yourself is most important. Then you know whether it's an intuitive pull or something dragging you in tow. This is one that is a newer inclination of theirs, other aside than the soul traps themselves with the false light. This is very similar, but think of a hook being hooked into you and dragging you towards something that seems miraculous or seems wonderful or pleasant, but it will be a false pull. Like when you realize that you may be going into dark territory, it will still try to nudge you onto a script. That's how strong this scripting has become in recent days. The script is strong. The clockmaker has been so venerated that the scripting nearly writes itself. There are the cabal script writers that you know of as a disinformation than the clockmaker script and the Orion beings script for your own supposed destiny. You write your own destiny, yet you still have a soul mission when you come in. This may seem confusing, but if it's a false pull towards something that you do not want, and you know in your heart that it is not for you, yet it seems like the universe, quote unquote, is pulling you towards it, it may be false and trying to cul-de-sac you. This is where ultimate discernment comes in.
And will a person in that scenario be wrestling with themselves inside? I mean, I would think there would be something going on to give them a clue that I guess sometimes people are just hooked and they don't know till they're too far into it. But are there other times where people are kind of having a little internal battle and they just feel the opportunity is so good that they're not listening? Or
Yes, indeed. You are actually correct on that on all counts. They will battle with themselves over what feels right and what seems right or pleasant, just like with the Sophia Code, for instance. It will show pleasant things, very pleasant things, especially to men in this instance. There is another one for women that has not been revealed. But men seeing something pleasant such as this will often gravitate towards it, and it seems freer and opener. But it isn't. That is an example that I'm using for this. Another one would be struggling with your life path and chosen vocation or profession. The clockmaker and the other minions will make it so that the path does not seem worthwhile, will make it harder than it needs to be. And hell, even some guides sometimes make it harder than it needs to be because they are in a different learning curriculum in some instances. But in some instances, they do it out of a place of caring to try to get you more immunized to this clockmaker code and its whims. In this, just know that if it is done from the heart space, sometimes, yes, the heart space can be tricked as well. The heart strings can be plucked at. And you may think that you may have an easier time, say, with someone else or somewhere else doing something else. This, my friends, is how the heart itself can be tricked. With a pluck at the heart strings and a kind word.
so again, that's very interesting. I think this whole conversation really comes to the conclusion that it isn't easy, that this is hard work, and we're actually, and I hate to say it, because people hate it when any of us say these things, but the truth of the matter is we're learning how to discern our way through all of this. And you can't instantaneously know how to do that. You're going to do it by having experiences. You're going to do it by running into things. You're going to do it by realizing, oh, I actually got hooked. Let me back out of this before they really cook me in a fish fry. And, you'll be frustrated with yourself that you didn't see it earlier. And all of this stuff's going to go on because part of the learning experience is to learn how to come out of it. And it can't happen overnight. So the other thing I want to just say to in this one piece of conversation before moving on is be kind to yourself and be kind to those around you. If you are actually even thinking about these things and trying to move yourself into knowing yourself better and to doing what you feel is your soul's mission, you should just be patting yourself on the back, because so many people don't even understand that maybe they should be thinking about those things yet. But understand it is not an easy process, and do not beat yourself up if you feel like you took a turn or cul-de-saced yourself for a second, or don't do that to yourself, because this is not easy. So Though it's interesting that you did bring in the guides. You brought them in, mentioned them twice now, FEMA, which was the other area that I wanted to talk about. And I don't think that this is an easy topic. I know Chris and I are probably going to talk more in depth on it, but since you're here, I do value your opinion on it. It has come to our understanding, and to many others, I think, again, when we were all younger and we thought about guides and those people who used to term the angels or the angelic realm, the understanding was they had to be a little bit more omnipotent, a little bit more benevolent, a little bit more, and so it became not within the grasp of our minds that they would do certain things, that they would be mischievous, that they would potentially want to lead people on a path that was opposite of their soul mission. And those things have been a hard thing for people to actually grasp, a lot of them. In my understanding now is that, again, and you bring in the AI and you bring in the fact that there isn't a single level in this learning experience that isn't having to experience all this themselves, that it becomes even more complicated. And so, I don't know how influenced guides can be. I don't know. Part of me feels that some of the photonic light has hit some of them and they're influenced. They're just us at a different level, but everyone is experiencing the same thing. And I think at times when you really take a look at it and you're feeling like you're having conflicts with the guides or whatever, there's nothing wrong in and I don't mean banishing, but there's nothing wrong in your heart of hearts saying, I release you if this is not for my highest good or your highest good anymore, and we need to potentially part ways, that I release you with love and want guides in for my highest good alone. They may need healing. They may need something and need a break. I don't know. It's just something that's been weighing heavy on my heart and some of the things we've been experiencing. So I'd like to know your comment.
You are correct on all counts. There are some beings that were teachers recently that have had to be removed from the teaching curriculum. Yes, there is a false teaching curriculum they got locked into. And also they were tricked into thinking that the person in which they were testing was not yet past a certain tier, you would think of it as. They themselves needed help. Not all of them were banished to that alternate universe by which the bad ones were. Some were brought before the main source and shown that they needed to be elsewhere. Most understood this. Now, there are some that did not, or those that intentionally align with the darkness. They are ones that have been removed. Now, you're asking, why haven't all the dark ones been removed? Some have purposes here, as you would say, learning curriculum. Some are in hiding, and some do not appear bad at all, even to other guides and other galactics. Sometimes we do not know they have turned until it is visible. In this is a hard pill for all of you to swallow, but none of us are omnipotent. We are like you. We are part of Source. We are a spark of Creator. But it is Source that knows everything. So in this, would you know your neighbor is doing something against you in secret in their own home? No. Only Creator knows that. Yes, we are telepathic. Yes, we can skim thoughts and scan people in that respect. We know what's in their hearts. Truly in their hearts and in their higher self's destiny, you would say. But do we know every detail? No. So, the teachers that have crossed the line and do not honor the free will of the human they are teaching then are asked to leave that portion of the curriculum. If they do not, they are considered in league with the darkness, you would say. In recent days, more of the ones that were confused existed than those that were outright belligerent. Now, are there the programmed ones that were crowned or rotted? Yes, they are a slightly different category. They are more victim category. But you will find that your guides may not be acting correctly, or you will be getting a holographic representation of your guide or an overlay, acting stupid, acting dumb, acting without heart or remorse. These are false representations of your guides. There are a few guides that will allow these things to happen to show you the difference. Know your heart, know their heart. Yes, this is a harsh teaching mentality. Michael has a mastery over this particular immersion technique. He does this from his own heart space. But he wants people to see that they can audit their own guides, audit their own scenarios, be more sovereign than they ever have in human history. Him and a few of his council still do this to this day. Not all approve of this tactic, as sometimes it can go seemingly too far. Yes, we are of our different opinions as well. We may not like something. We may not agree with something. But we know we all have to work together to help transmute this world into not only what it was prior to the Archon invasion, but what it can become.
And so then are you advising, if people are interacting with their guides and they feel, I don't know any other way to put this, and we always joke with this word, but it just is going to feel like their guides are a bit retarded, like, well, would you stop playing this joke on me kind of thing? And then it's like, what's going on? If I heard you correctly, you're saying there could be some confusion on their part, but it sounds like there could also be an overlay or something that's there that even a good seer would potentially have a hard time seeing through. It's hard for anyone to see through that, I'm assuming. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, because this level of trickery is unlike anything you've encountered before in your lives. This level of trickery is within the very light you see around you itself, the very sunbeams you walk in, the very air in which you breathe. Could you discern the air you breathe if it was exactly the same as the air everyone else breathed? Or could you discern the light that everyone else walks in if it was the same as what hit everyone else? This is a level of discernment you have never been hit with in your history, but you are now.
Okay, and so in order not to feel helpless to it all, because we would not be being exposed to anything like this if we were helpless to it. And that's the one thing I want people to understand. We're being exposed to things so that we can understand them better and move through them, not so that we become helpless and hopeless over it. So, what we've done, again, is ask the benevolent source to come in and audit. But if they come in and audit, will the source, or has the source been getting rid of the overlay? Because it's an interesting dynamic in my mind, because the guide may be perfectly fine, so you audit the guide, but the guide's perfectly fine, so you end up whatever, because it was the overlay that maybe, again, is being oppressed upon the guide. So it's an interesting dynamic, and I would like to be able to hear your opinion on what is the best way, if you think this is going on, to be able to do something to help rectify it.
First off, remember, not all shadow is a demon, and not all light is sacred. In this, know that these overlays require the utmost discernment. Your guide could very well be in the room, and that the true Kejik shows them as being in the room, yet they're acting retarded. Know that the light, or the false light, that surrounds them and cannot penetrate them, is what you are seeing. The false light of the photonic realms are exactly what is being seen. Your guide has a hard time getting through this photonic light because the light encompasses the system. The false light, the false Sophia code, all of these photonic influences encompass your solar system. Beings outside of the solar system are less likely to give a false overlay.
So that's an interesting thing, because I know that Chris and I have been talking about that, and we've been saying go beyond the people of this solar system who are affected right now. So I guess I'm just going to go with, from what I understand, because we don't know all the answer yet. This is actually very current events. I think that's kind of funny. I didn't know there was a shooting range around. But as we learn more about all of this, of course, we'll keep everyone up to date on what we learn. And again, I apologize for all of the gunshots in the background. So let's get on to happy things, Fuma, because I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of people joining that shooter or not. So get on to some happy things of what you guys have learned this Sasquatch.
In happier times, we join you in thought and in heart space. We still, however, in nature, accept gifting, accept heart space from you, accept communication. This has never changed. Happier things are coming. Happier things are within both of our species' heart spaces. This we can communicate to you. We actually, as I've said, we still accept gifts if you pick an isolated enough spot, surrounded by rocks, more than like, in forested areas. Risky going into city areas, especially with smart meters and AI constructs. But when you feel a happier thought that your heart space is telling you is from your forest friends, know that it is. No matter how hostile your thoughts are or your words are, there will always be a thread of love and brotherhood. Know that in recent days, we will begin leaving gifts again to all of you. Feathers are usually the thing we leave to start off communication. When you see these in odd places, not just regular places, odd places that you would not have been able to put such a feather, no, this is us trying to initiate communication because we see people with open hearts and open minds. These are the happier things. Focus on the joyful things surrounding our relationship and your relationships with other people. That way, when the negative things do surface, they will not seem as bad. I and my kind must depart now, but know that we are close by in heart space and in that vibration. So that is the vibration in which you need to push your energies through, you would say, and your intentions through, and we will be able to communicate with you on that level. So, from the ones you call the forest people, my name is Fuma, and I thank you. And I just realized I'm not facing the camera. Okay.
That's because Fuma was talking to me.
Okay.
You turn.
He was talking to the car, actually, but okay. But let's see. I know there's a lot of noise out here. I did not expect gunshots. This is another thing that you don't expect. The last time we were out here, there was a whole rock band out here. So, yeah. So, with that, this has been another episode of A Talk with the Elementals. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.